Hi, I'm Adam Ant and you are watching Noise 11.
Well, welcome to noise11.com, and it's a pleasure to welcome in Adam Ant.
Hi.
Let's start at the very present. I've got to sort of refer to my notes here because it's not the longest album title in the world, but it's pretty close to it. Adam Ant is the Blueback Hussar in Marrying the Gunner's Daughter.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Tell me about the origins of this record, because you've been talking about that title for about 2 years.
Yeah, well, it's the first record in 17 years, so it had to be a bit different. It's a double vinyl album, deluxe double CD and stuff, but basically it's just Adam Ant is me. The Blue Black Hussar is the character that I'm sort of playing now on stage. That's what would that guy with the stripe across his nose look like 30 years later if he was a hussar and walked to Moscow and back with Napoleon, that kind of look. And Marrying the Gunner's Daughter is a naval term for getting whipped, beaten. So that was a metaphor for my experiences with major record labels. So it's a kind of like and the band's called The Good, The Mad and The Lovely Posse. So it's a kind of like a film, bit of a sort of Clint Eastwood job.
Right. So it sort of does have an historical link right back to the Kings of the Wild Frontier then.
Yeah. Well, this is the 10th album I've made, and I think it got to a point where I changed a lot. Every new album had to look and sound completely different, so I changed the look and the sound. So really this is a sort of consolidation point where I'm going out playing to a new audience that may not have seen it before, as well as the audience that may have. So this, looking back, my favourite look was the Kings look, so I've sort of started there and sort of worked a new look from that. So there's such a lot of variety in the actual, if you listen to Goody Two Shoes for instance, the difference between that and Kings or Dirk Wears White Socks or Strip, or they're so different that it can get messy when you're doing a live show because you've got to sort of fit it into the new lineup. It's got 2 drummers, 6-piece band, so I'm very happy with the live band that I have at the moment, and hopefully at whatever area you got into the music you'll hear something that you may like.
Is it a brand new band, or are you working with some of the old guys from the good old days?
No, this is a completely new band from scratch. 2 girls in it, Yola, one of the drummers, and Georgie Girl, who sings. Andy on drums, Joe on bass, and Tom on guitar, and myself. So 6-piece band, and we're really rocking.
And in regard to like the new songs, there's quite a lot of new songs. I think it's in the vinyl in the vinyl format. It's a double album, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 18 songs. So I felt, having been away for so long, it was okay to do that many, because each song is like a little story, little vignette, and it didn't really fit into one. So I just kept writing, and in an age where they're telling you not to do vinyl and not to do this and to I don't feel too comfortable with the technology. I'm not a Luddite, but I don't feel that it was broken. I think if something's broken you fix it. I think vinyl sounds better than digital. I know that, I think everybody does, but just because it's convenient doesn't make it right. So in a way I'm taking care of the traditional side as well as the the technological side, of course, the downloads and that, but my heart is in making something very tactile, something people want to collect and keep in their homes and see the lyric quite large so they can actually read the lyric, not have to have a magnifying glass to read it, because lyrics is half the song, and I think that's often forgotten. So all the albums I've made have had a lyric liner with them, and I don't want to stop now.
Is it true you're also releasing it on cassette?
No, there might be, I don't know, I may do a deluxe set that may have something like that, but I haven't really used cassettes on this. But I've always demoed all my songs on a dictaphone. I've got dictaphone recordings of Stand and Deliver going way back, so it's the most instantaneous way of getting an idea down, because an idea can come anytime.
Some of these songs I believe date back to the late 90s. Is that when you started to create some of these tracks for the album?
Well, the new album, it sort of, there was a period where I didn't pick a guitar up for 7 years, so there was a sort of period where there was a bit of a void. So I kind of started from scratch with this, but some of the the visual ideas I'd been sort of playing around with, but it's pretty much new stuff from scratch I'd started writing it, getting the ideas sort of 3 years ago, and then building them up, recording, demoing them, and then going and recording them with. Some of the songs are co-written with Boz Bora, who writes for Morrissey, and Chris McCormack, who was in a band called Three Colours Red. So, and they both got home studios, so it was quite a privately made album, and I think that was a bit of a new thing, being able to go in and record in people's homes and utilise the improvement in technology. You know, you can have a home studio now that pretty much is as good as, you know, any studio you would have gone to before. But again, we just play it all live anyway, so there's no difference other than the fact that instead of a great big desk, it's a laptop. So.
How difficult was it after 7 years to pick up a guitar?
Well, it started really with just writing a few lyrics down, and then, you know, I started by just relearning my own songs, breaking them down so I could play them on a 6-string on my own acoustically, and then I started to perform around London, small places. Some of my mates had, you know, they had a celebration to go and play with that. Then I played a few, you know, gigs, just guerrilla gigs, underground gigs, playing like a 40-minute set on my own. From that, it gives you the confidence to put a band together, and then you've sort of stripped the arrangements right down. So that's the way I got back into playing again, and now I play a lot more guitar on stage, which really is, you know, I think enhances the sound, because the Adam and the Ants sound was actually created in the studio. So, you know, producing that sound live is always quite a challenge, certainly vocally, and 5 of the 6 members of the band sing, so we need all that.
And I believe you pay tribute to one of your early mentors, Malcolm McLaren, with a song called Goofy Bunny. Yeah,
there's a song about there's this song about Malcolm, and who was really, I think the interpretation is people think that because of the split up with Bow Wow Wow and, you know, in Malcolm taking the band and all that there was bad feeling. Well, initially, obviously, I was very, you know, heartbroken to lose the band because we were good mates, but it kind of did us both a favour. They did Bow Wow Wow, I did Adam and the Ants too. But Malcolm, I think, was the last of the great rock managers. I think he's one of the 4 great ones, you know, Colonel Tom Parker, Epstein, Peter Grant, and Malcolm being different because he was a kind of intellectual, and he really knew about the history of rock and roll, and he was always a bit of a rebel. He was always trying to find the other route. A lot of that stuff I wasn't interested in, but the actual education he gave you in the structure and the writing of rock and roll songs, you know, so listen to, you know, Blue Moon by Elvis, you know, the demo he made for his mum's birthday, listen to him sing that, and when you really listen to the way Elvis sings it, it's a masterclass, really. You know, I mean, you don't come better than Elvis, in my view. So and he sent us to sort of singing lessons, and he was quite a disciplined guy. I mean, he sent the Sex Pistols to singing lessons. So
that didn't work, did it?
No, it didn't. No, but in a way, out of that, it didn't teach you to sing, but that helped me to use my diaphragm instead of my throat, so I don't lose my voice. You know, which was a great gift to me, because before that, you're singing from the wrong place. So in that respect, he was quite a disciplinarian, Malcolm. He's quite a good mentor. I think the word would be mentor.
Another name that I've heard bandied around with you in recent times is Liam Gallagher. Mm-hmm. Has he been sort of interfering with the record?
There's a situation there that is sorting itself out now, gladly, because one of the songs on the new album called Zombie, Chris is a friend of Andy Bell, who plays for Liam. But I've never met Andy Bell, but it was just a bit of confusion, which is gladly sorted out now. But I think that'll all iron itself out in the future, because basically it's got nothing to do with Andy Bell and nothing to do with me. I think that if you're the type of artist that is quite, you know, vocal and says a lot of things, then you have to be prepared to get a reply. And I'm older than him, and I've been doing this a lot longer, and some of the things that were said I think were not very good, so I just responded. But because, you know, that's the name of the game, it's a bit like a tennis game. But, you know, one day hopefully we'll meet up and I don't know, I know his big brother, I know the Gallagher's big brother, you see. He's quite a nice fella. We hung out one night and he was a DJ and we had a real laugh, but you know, I think the press stir things up a bit.
What from the past is going to fit with the future and the current set list when you get back on the stage here?
Well, I've been doing nothing but play for the last year, playing with my new band, and we've just played, pretty everywhere we can play in Great Britain and Ireland. And through that, and some of the festivals last year, Guildfest and various festivals which I'd never played before. I'd never played outdoor festivals, which was a great experience. And I just put it on the sort of show that I'd like to see if I went to see, say, Roxy Music. If I went to see a band that I'd grown up with, I'd want to hear the hits, I'd want to hear various tracks. And I've got 10 albums to choose from, so I've been choosing obviously the hits and then various album tracks, B-sides. And I'm very surprised that the reaction to some of the older stuff is as if not more so, get as big a feedback with some of the early stuff as we do with some of the hits. So, I'm just choosing my favourite songs from my repertoire, and hopefully the audience respond, and they seem to be doing so.
How crazy were the Kings of the Wild Frontier days for you?
Well, I don't know. It started with a 3.5 minute performance on Top of the Pops with Dog Eat Dog, and literally didn't stop for about 3.5 to 4 years. I think I had 11 days off in that period of time. It was just, I think I'd had 3 years of being in a punk arena, bringing out an independent album, everybody hating it apart from the hardcore fans, and getting told you was rubbish, no, and then you get the opportunity to actually prove yourself. And I thought, okay, well, I better get on with this. So it was just really a question of just work, which is my nature anyway. To 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration. That's always been my formula, I suppose.
And suddenly a song called Ant Music comes along, and like on the other side of the planet, like where you are today.
Yeah,
we were all listening to it.
Yeah, I mean, by the time I came to Australia, I think I'd met Molly Meldrum in London, and he was a great guy and pretty much a music man there. He wasn't really interested in record labels, he was just music. So by the time I came to Australia, I think I'd already had a number one with Stand and Deliver. So I'd know, you go to another country and you're not expecting it, and it's like, and it really was very crazy here, that was quite breathtaking. But actually Australia was the only place I actually had a couple of days off. I actually went to the beach one day, which was quite unusual. So it was a great experience, and I was just sad that I didn't get the opportunity to come back. But I was signed to a label. I was signed to UK Sony, CBS at the time, and they kind of kept me in Europe and America. So the opportunity never came. So now I've got my own label, and I'm the one making the decisions. I said I want to go back and play Australia. I've never been to New Zealand, and Japan once, which seems crazy not to go, but it was pretty much albums, album, 4 videos, single, tour. It went on a bit of a merry-go-round, and now I just want to sort of do my own merry-go-round, if you know what I mean. So, and in Europe, Eastern Europe wasn't open at all. I mean, the furthest you go was Berlin. I remember going the Trans-Europe Express, and the sort of guards coming on passport. It was like the IPCRES file. But now that's all open, so there's a lot of places in Eastern Europe that I've never been to. China's opening up. So this is a great opportunity, a great time to have a live band that can play.
Adam and the Ants was 3 albums, and I guess that era ended with the 2-track Stand and Deliver and Prince Charming, and then you jumped into the solo records, the Adam Ant records. Yeah. How different was that for you?
Well, it was kind of hard because the band, we were like mates. That's the first and foremost. I think any great rock and roll band, you have to be mates, because all you do is spend the whole time taking the mick out of each other, and just that's the only thing that gets you through, is you can laugh at each other and have a laugh. And when that kind of ended, there was a real void in my life, but I just kept working through it, and the solo work was rewarding, but that's always been my baby. Adam and the Ants was my band and my kind of creation. So I was very saddened by that. But it's something that I'm I own the name and everything, so I may put that together in the future. But I'm in contact with some of the original guys, and we've always stayed, mates. But it was just, I think really, it was just too much too soon. and we were exhausted. Normally when a band's been working for 2 years solid, you got to the point where you are sick of the sight of each other, and you just need a rest, and that was just not allowed. It was just basically, no, come on. Very hard for people to say no to a lot of money.
Well, I guess in 1982, Friend or Foe and then Goody Two Shoes re-established you as a solo artist. So that must have put you back in the comfort zone, knowing that you could do it without the Adam and the Ants brand.
Yeah, I'd always played the songs, always played the Adam and the Ants material in the live work. And if anything, I just then said I want to go to America, and I just worked in America, and I toured with every album in America, so I've done like 5 or 6 tours of the USA, which has stood me in good stead now. So it was a great learning curve for me. But as I say, the world's opened up a lot now, and I think if you've had that number of hits, some of them will have hit home, and when you go and play in those territories, the real challenge is to play to a young kid of like 18, 17 years old, never seen you before. Which you get at a festival. Like when I played at a festival recently, Guildfest, I was not really my show, but you put on a show and it's kind of whoa, and that's very rewarding because that's from the scratch. So there's always, you always got to prove yourself.
I want to ask you about some interesting guests on Strip. Phil Collins playing drums, and Frida was on that record as well.
Yeah.
In fact, they were both together on the one record at one point.
Well,
were you all in the studio together when you recorded that?
Yeah. Well, Strip was recorded at Polar Studios, ABBA studio in Stockholm, which was quite a tough call because ABBA's sound is particular. But we had Michael B. Tretov engineering the album. He was their engineer and bass player, and Phil, agreed to do 2 tracks, Puss in Boots and Strip, which was great because he's by far a fabulous drummer. Great to watch him record the way he gets those sounds. And I said to him, what about getting one of the girls out of ABBA? And he pulled it off. He phoned up Frida. He got Frida, and Frida turned up at the audience to do the mid-late section of Strip. And she came in and she had her hair all done, so she put the mic the headphones that way. And I just don't tell Stig because they want to get paid. So we couldn't credit her, but that is Frida on It's at Times Like This, which is a nice touch.
Because I guess she was working with Phil Collins on a solo album around that time as well.
Yeah, he just done an album with Agneta, and I think he just finished doing Frida too. Mm-hmm. But he did a great track with Agneta called Something Going On, which had that, Something There Tonight, that snare drum that I wanted on Puss in Boots and Strip, which he did, which was quite a secret thing, that the way he did it. But Phil Collins is one of these guys who I don't know, he just doesn't get the respect he deserves, and sadly he's recently sort of packed it in, but he will be back. He's a great musician, but craftsman, that guy's a great drummer. I mean, it's a masterclass watching Phil Collins work, and he's a really nice fella as well. He's just if anything, too nice for rock and roll. He prefer people that throw televisions out the window and are rude.
You've rarely done cover versions of songs, but one of the great ones you did was a Doors song. Were you a big fan of the Doors? How'd that come about?
Well, that was really the American, believe it or not, when we had Goody Two Shoes at number 1 all over the world, the American company wanted to put Hello I Love You out because they were very rock and roll orientated. But I like the Doors, and Hello I Love You I thought I want to stick brass on it, open it up a bit. And it was actually, we had the sort of blessing from Robbie Krieger, the guitarist out of Doors. He came on stage and jammed with us when we played Los Angeles, so he come and played on Hello I Love You live, which was kind of giving it his blessing. But there are a few. I cover a couple of T-Rex songs on the tour now. That's my favourite sort of covers, and Johnny Kidd and the Pirates and stuff. But I think with a cover, you've got to try and give it something else, or leave it the same, and hope that you're not messing it up.
Johnny Kidd, Shaking All Over.
Yeah, we did that. In a way, putting this new band back together, the good way to put a band together, even if I'm putting a new band together now for some of the bands I'm signing, and these are new kids, like Georgia Girl and Posse, which is 4 girls. They started off rehearsing just covers, just to get as a band to play, like, you know, if they learn to play No Fun by Iggy, that's a way of a band getting together and playing together. So it's like an apprenticeship of songs, and there are certain songs, if you can do a cover, it should be a real classic that really works live, and I do a couple of those.
What, from T-Rex?
Yeah.
What songs?
20th Century Boy and Get It On,
Mm-hmm.
which I love doing. It's kind of, when we play it live, it's a real, you know, it's like the end of the show and you feel really good.
Yeah, well, I think T-Rex probably had the longest album title ever in the world. Adam Ant now has the second longest album title ever in the world. So Adam Ant is the Blueback Hussar, and in Marrying the Gunner's Daughter, that's the name of the new record. Mm-hmm. Adam Ant, back for 2012. Thank you for joining us here at Noise 11.
Thanks very much.